Chapter 6. Stanley took a shower, if you could call it that, ate dinner, if you could call it that, and went to bed, if you could call his smelly and scratchy cot a bed. Because of the scarcity of water, each camper was only allowed a 4-minute shower. What do you think scarcity of water might mean? It took Stanley nearly that long to get used to the cold water. There was no knob for hot water. He kept stepping into the shower, then jumping back from the spray until the water shut off automatically. He never managed to use his bar of soap, which was just as well, because he wouldn't have had time to rinse off all the soap suds. Dinner was some kind of stewed meat and vegetables. The meat was brown, and the vegetables had once been green. Everything tasted pretty much the same. He ate it all and used his slice of white bread to mop up the juice. He'd never been one to leave food on his plate, no matter how it tasted. What did you do? One of the campers asked him. At first, Stanley didn't know what he meant. Well, they sent you here for a reason. Oh, he realised. I stole a pair of sneakers. The other boys thought that was funny. Stanley wasn't sure why. Maybe because their crimes were a lot worse than stealing shoes. From a store, or were they on someone's feet? Asked Squid. Neither, Stanley answered. They belonged to Clyde Livingston. Nobody believed him. Sweet feet, said X-Ray. Yeah, right. No way, said Squid. So Stanley is saying that they belong to Clyde Livingston, and nobody is believing him. Who do you think Clyde Livingston might be? And do you have any evidence to back up your answer? Now, as Stanley lay in his cot, he thought it was kind of funny in a way. No one believed him when he said he was innocent. Now, when he said he stole them, nobody believed him either. Clyde Sweetfeet Livingston was a famous baseball player. He'd led the American League in stolen bases over the last 3 years, and he was the only player in history to ever hit 4 triples in one game. Now, I don't know much about baseball, but that sounds pretty good. Stanley had a poster of him hanging on the wall in his bedroom. Well, he used to have a poster anyway. He didn't know where it was now. It had been taken by the police and was used as evidence. Clyde Livingston also came to the court. In spite of everything, when Stanley found out that Sweetfeet was going to be going to court, he was actually excited about the prospect of meeting his hero. Clyde Livingston testified that they were his sneakers and that he had donated them to help raise money for the homeless shelter. He testified that they were his sneakers. What do you think testified might mean? The worst part for Stanley was that his hero thought he was a no-good, dirty, rotten thief. As Stanley tried to turn over in his cot, he was afraid it was going to collapse under all his weight. He could barely fit in it, and when he managed to roll over on his stomach, the smell was so bad that he had to turn over and try sleeping on his back again. The cot smelt like sour milk. Though it was night, the air was very warm, and Armpit was snoring 2 cots away. Back at school, a boy named Derek Dunn used to torment Stanley. The teachers never took Stanley's complaints seriously because Derek was so much smaller than Stanley, and sometimes the teachers used to find it so amusing that a little kid like Derek could pick on someone as big as Stanley. On the day Stanley was arrested, Derek had taken Stanley's notebook and after a long game of come and get it, finally dropped it into the toilets in the boys' restroom. By the time Stanley retrieved it, he'd missed his bus and had to walk home. It was while he was walking home, carrying his wet notebook, with the prospect of having to copy up the ruined pages, that the sneakers fell from the sky. I was walking home and the sneakers fell from the sky, he told the judge. One hit me on the head and it hurt too. They hadn't exactly fallen from the sky. He had just walked out from under a freeway overpass when the shoe hit him on the head. Stanley took it as some kind of sign. His father had been trying to figure out a way to recycle old trainers, and suddenly a dirty old pair of sneakers fell on top of him. seemingly out of nowhere, like a gift from God. But naturally, he had no way of knowing that they belonged to Clyde Livingston. In fact, the shoes were anything but sweet. Whoever had worn them before had a bad case of foot odour. Stanley couldn't help but think there was something special about the shoes, that they would provide the key to his father's invention. It was too much of a coincidence to be a mere accident. Stanley felt like he was holding Destiny's shoes. He ran. Thinking back now, he wasn't sure why he ran. Maybe he was in a hurry to bring the shoes to his father, or maybe he was trying to away from the miserable and humiliating day at school. And then a patrol car pulled up alongside him. What do you think a patrol car might be? A policeman asked him why he was running. He took the shoes and made a call on his radio, and shortly after, Stanley was arrested. It turned out that the sneakers had been stolen from a display at the homeless shelter. That evening, people were going to come to a shelter and pay hundreds of dollars to eat the food that the poor people ate every day for free. Clyde Livingston, who had once lived at the shelter when he was younger, was going to speak and sign autographs. His shoes would be auctioned, and it was expected that they would sell for over £5,000, and all the money would go to help the homeless. But because of the baseball schedule, Stanley's trial was delayed several months. His parents couldn't afford a lawyer. "You don't need a lawyer," his mum said. "Just tell the truth." Now, if you think back to when we did our Romeo and Juliet court case, do you remember that we had somebody helping each character explain their point of view? So that's what a lawyer does. Stanley told the truth, but perhaps it would have been better if he lied a little. He could have said that he found the shoes in the street, but nobody believed that they fell from the sky. It wasn't destiny, he realised. It was his no-good, dirty, rotten, pig-stealing great-great-grandfather. The judge called Stanley's crime despicable. I wonder if you can think of 3 synonyms of the word despicable that would work in that sentence. The shoes were valued at over £5,000. It was money that would provide food and shelter for the homeless, and you stole that from them just so you could have a souvenir. The judge said that there was an opening at Camp Green Lake, and he suggested that the discipline of the camp might improve Stanley's character. What do they mean by Stanley's character? The discipline of the camp might improve Stanley's character. It was either that or jail. Stanley's parents asked them if they could have some time to find out a bit more about Camp Green Lake, but the judge advised them to make a quick decision. Vacancies don't last long at Camp Green Lake. Okay, Year 5, so those are your 2 chapters for today. So I hope you got on well with the questions. And tomorrow we're going to be looking at chapter 7. So I'm not sure what the cats were doing. I know the plant was being interfered with, but we've got one little one asleep here. Oh, hello. And one nearly asleep here, so all's well that ends well.